Haunted rules of a Nevada prison guard, 7 sinister secrets exposed that should never be revealed. Jamie Reynolds stood at the prison gates, a cold sweat running down his back. The sinister whispers of lost souls seemed to echo behind the imposing walls. The prison, a decaying fortress looming over their small Nevada town, was a hive of unspeakable horrors. The walls didn't just hold the guilty, they held secrets that clawed at the edges of sanity. Jamie's heart raced as he recalled the inmates found lifeless in their cells, faces twisted in agony, eyes wide with terror. Something unnatural lurked in this place, and dread coiled around him like a serpent at AT-35. Jamie took pride in being a dedicated prison guard, staunchly defending his community from the monsters within. But each shift began to seep into his bones, denying him solace. The shadows playing tricks on his weary mind night after night, whispering tales of the damned. And each time he returned home, he was met with bright, innocent eyes seeking comfort, his 8-year-old daughter, Mia. But lately, even her dreams had turned dark. Mia described a world filled with sorrow, her small voice trembling as she recounted dreams of souls crying for justice. "Daddy, they're sad," she'd say, her hands clutching her blanket like a lifeline. Jamie's heart ached. He didn't want her innocence tarnished by the ugliness he faced daily. The unease surged deeper when he stumbled upon old records hidden in the prison archives, records detailing strange occurrences and unsettling modifications to death rate protocols. Jamie's pulse quickened. This wasn't official, it was chaos wrapped in a facade of order. Before he could ponder further, the neighbor he once thought charming, Mr. Thompson, offered him a sweet smile and a beer, seemingly oblivious to the ramifications brewing under the surface. "Funny things happening at that prison, huh?" Thompson said, laughter spilling into the air, masking secrets darker than the night sky. Jamie forced a smile, the tension in his chest amplifying with every word. Then came the day of the block party. Laughter echoed, children sprinted through the streets flanked by the familiar faces of friends. But glee turned to ice when Jamie realized Mia was missing. Panic clawed at his throat as he called her name, his desperate voice lost beneath the laughter that morphed into haunting echoes. A deep chill crawled up his spine as shadows flickered out of sight. "Where is she?" His heart thundered in his ears. Jamie's breath quickened as he dashed through the yards, backyard gates slamming shut behind him, transforming the world he once knew into a nightmare. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A flicker caught his eye, a shape darted behind a nearby shed. Jamie's instincts screamed, a primal fear pulling him forward. The familiar neighborhood disintegrated around him, dissolving into whispers of lost souls begging for release. He stumbled upon a hidden passage beneath the town, festering with echoes of despair. As he stepped into the damp, suffocating darkness, a low growl reverberated through the air, fueling the dread coiling in his gut. Could it be tied to Mr. Thompson, the man whose creeping grin felt all too familiar? Jamie felt the ominous weight of rattling chains, oppressive and dark, as if something ancient demanded attention. With every step, Jamie ventured deeper into an undeniable horror. The truth, precise as a knife, could unveil unspeakable horror that could cost him everything, especially Mia. Was the true threat hiding behind friendly smiles, or was it lurking in the very shadows that spun the town into a living nightmare? He could feel it closing in, the darkness whispering, and he was no longer sure he could turn back. The air thickened around Jamie as he stumbled deeper into the hidden passage, the darkness wrapping around him like a shroud. The low growl echoed again, a warning or a taunt, he couldn't tell. Shadows twisted and turned, dancing just out of his reach. Panic surged as he tried to trace his steps back, but the passage felt like a living thing, reshaping and constricting. Mia. His voice struck the walls, only to dissolve into silence, swallowed by the oppressive gloom. The scent of mildew mixed with something metallic, something that sent a shiver down his spine. A wave of dread washed over him as he pressed forward, searching for the little voice that had been his beacon, the light that defined his world. Suddenly, he caught a flicker of movement, a figure darting deeper into the dark. Heart racing, he followed, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Mia!" He shouted again, desperation clawing at his throat. The echo of his own voice sounded far away. He turned a corner and stopped, breath hitching in his chest. Before him lay a chamber filled with what looked like discarded remnants of lives lost, shattered toys, old photographs, even a once-loved blanket, now grotesquely matted and stained. His heart sank. Was this Mia's? In the center of the room stood a small figure. Jamie squinted. Was that his daughter? Relief washed over him, but it was quickly overshadowed by the dread creeping back into his chest. She wasn't moving. She faced the wall, her little body still and serene, despite the chaos surrounding her. "Mia!" He rushed towards her, dread and hope wrestling within him. But as he approached, a sharp chill filled the air, and the room shifted again. The shadows coalesced into forms, dark and twisting, denying the light of hope. The faces that emerged were twisted, etched with suffering, their mouths freezing mid-scream. "Daddy, help us!" a whisper called from behind him, but it was a voice he didn't recognize. He spun around and saw the faces of men he thought had found peace behind bars. Inmates who had begged for mercy, who had wanted a life beyond the prison gates. "Why are you here?" Jamie demanded, backing away, fear pulling him taut. "Mia is lost, trapped," one of the shadows said, its voice threading through the air like broken glass. "You brought her here." "No. I didn't mean to." Jamie shouted, but deep inside, he felt a sliver of truth cut through fog. The prison had seeped into his life, into his dreams, and now into Mia. He cried, moving toward her, but the shadows tightened around him, blocking his escape. "Please." With a scream that echoed through the darkness, Jamie lunged for his daughter. In an instant, the figures erupted into agonizing wails, clawing at the air. Jamie wrapped his arms around Mia just as the shadows lunged, dragging her back into the dark. "Mia!" He roared, gripping her tightly, as the world around him swirled in chaos. In that heartbeat, he felt the shadows twist and pull at him, trying to tear them apart. Something snapped inside him. He would not lose her. With a primal scream, Jamie pushed against the darkness that threatened to consume them both. The ground beneath him trembled, the air thick with malevolence as he fought to escape, the relentless growls echoing behind him like the snarls of beasts ready to pounce. The chamber began to collapse, shadows flickering with fury as Jamie clambered toward a glimmer of light at the passage's end. Would they reach the safety of the outside world, or would the prison's secrets drag them into a deeper abyss? With every ounce of strength, Jamie surged forward, holding Mia close, fear and determination guiding him through the dark. As they neared the light, Jamie felt an overwhelming pull from behind. A familiar face, sweet yet twisted with malice, emerged from the darkness. It was Mr. Thompson, eyes glinting with a sinister promise. "Going somewhere?" His voice dripped with amusement, a serpent in the grass, watching them with a predator's gaze. What had Jamie unleashed? The escape could be just the beginning of a far darker nightmare. The impact of Mr. Thompson's words struck Jamie like a blow to the gut. Time seemed to freeze, the light ahead flickering, just out of reach. The passage warped behind him, transforming into an endless tunnel of dark memories and horrible whispers. Jamie's heart pounded as fury and fear coursed through him. "Let us go!" Jamie shouted, his voice hoarse, desperate. But Thompson's smile widened, showcasing teeth too white against the shadows. "Let her go." "Oh, but Daddy, why would I do that?" His voice twisted with malicious delight. The shadows around them pulsed, writhing as if they were alive, echoing Thompson's amusement. "Mia." Jamie's voice cracked again, his grip tightening around her small body. He could feel her tiny heart beating, reassuring yet fragile. "We'll get out of here, I promise, get out." Thompson echoed mockingly. "Did you forget where you are? This is as far from safety as you can wander." The shadows thickened, more defined now. Faces emerged screaming, pleading, contaminating the air with their anguish. Jamie squeezed his eyes shut but couldn't shut out that desolate chorus of despair. "Mia, listen to me." Jamie pressed his forehead against hers, blocking out the chaos for just a moment. "You have to stay close. No matter what happens, don't let go." He felt her nod against him, and the warmth of her small body briefly ignited a flicker of hope. But the darkness pulsed with greedy interest, drawing nearer, ever so hungry. Suddenly, Jamie felt pressure building against his back, the shadows pushing him forward, forcing him to move deeper into Thompson's lair. "Where are you taking us?" Jamie asked, a quiver in his voice. "Just showing you how family should stick together," Thompson replied, his eyes glimmering with sick pleasure. The glimmer of light seemed to splinter behind them, the exit now a distant memory. Jamie was filled with a sinking realization. There was no escape. The dark was alive, breathing, and hungry. "Mia!" he yelled, spinning to face the shadows. "Look at me." She blinked up at him, her wide eyes filled with fear and trust. But the pull of the dark was strong. Shadows clawed at her as if trying to pull her away. "Jamie's little girl," Thompson hissed, his expression morphed by the darkness. "The embodiment of innocence, entwined with the sins of our past. But how innocent can one be when they come from the lioness den?" Suddenly, Jamie understood. The prison's dark history had seeped into Mia's very existence, and now Thompson intended to exploit it. His heart raced, an electric pulse spiraling outwards. "No!" Jamie roared, lunging toward Thompson. But the shadows surged, overwhelming him. A collective wail escaped their throats, as if they all gathered the strength of those lost souls. Jamie stumbled, feeling the air crackle with anger. "Foolish father," Thompson spat, the ghastly forms swirling around him, distorting his features. "What do you think they're waiting for? You're out of time." The darkness coiled around Jamie, suffocating, relentless. There was a moment, a split second, where he could feel the tendrils of hope slipping. But then, in the depths of his despair, Jamie thought of Mia. His daughter could not bear the weight of this darkness. Not while he still breathed. "Let her go." He yelled again, louder this time, wielding defiance as a weapon. "I would rather die than leave her behind." Something in Thompson's expression shifted, just for a beat. Then rage twisted his visage. "You should have chosen your battles wisely, Jamie," he said. The shadows pulsed, suddenly more aggressive, an unholy force surging forward. As the chaos erupted, Jamie gathered Mia tightly, adrenaline surged through him. He refused to give in. The darkness howled in response, vibrating with fury, and suddenly, Jamie grasped the truth. He took a breath, heart racing. The shadows had power, but so did the memory of love. The flicker of hope he felt for Mia ignited something almost tangible inside him. With one last pull, Jamie prepared to shove through the looming darkness, pushing against the nightmare that threatened to unspool around them. Would they turn the tide against the shadows, or would the darkness consume them both whole? As Jamie and Mia prepared for a fight, he felt the presence behind him shift. Was Thompson about to unleash something even worse? Was there really no escape from the prison's sinister grip? The shadows twisted with a palpable hunger, as if they were drawn to Jamie's heartbeat. He felt Mia's trembling body cling to him, her trust lending him a momentary strength. But urgency washed over him, a tidal wave of desperation. Was this truly it? Was their fate intertwined with the darkness that loomed within the depths of this cursed prison? "Jamie," the whisper of his name coiled through the air, a sinister caress from Thompson, displacing his resolve. "You haven't chosen wisely, but don't worry, we'll make a family out of this little reunion." Rage ignited within Jamie, a wild firestorm raging deep in his chest. He turned to face the shadows, brandishing his love for Mia as a sword against the encroaching gloom. But Thompson advanced, and the darkness followed, twisting around him, amplifying his menace and sealing off any light Jamie had left to grasp. With every step Thompson took, the shadows thickened, elongating into clawed fingers ready to snatch at Jamie and Mia. Their cries of despair echoed, an anguished symphony that assaulted Jamie's senses. The sound wormed into his mind, trying to break him. "You must embrace the past, Jamie. Only then can you save her." "Shut up!" he screamed, clutching Mia as if she were a fragile shard of glass. He would not let her shatter. "I want to let you touch her." A sudden crack split the air. Jamie stumbled as the darkness shrieked, recoiling momentarily. It felt as though a crack had formed in the fabric of the nightmare, a small window of opportunity. "Mia, hold on tight!" he shouted, forcing his legs to propel him forward, ignoring the gut-wrenching fear threatening to tear him apart, yet the shadows did not back down. They slithered after them, relentless and unforgiving. Desperation clawed at Jamie's brain, spitting images of failure, of losing Mia, of succumbing to the darkness. But deep within, a flicker fueled his movement. They had to escape. They had to fight. As they approached the deeper recesses of the prison, Jamie noticed a flicker in the shadows, a familiar ghastly face, wasted and hollow, crying for relief. It was one of the lost souls, drawn by the weight of grief and regret. "Why are you here?" Jamie shouted, his voice raw. "What do you want?" "Break the cycle." The figure pleaded, its voice rasping like dry leaves. "Fate does not have to repeat itself, but she needs you to confront the truth." Jamie faltered, then locked his gaze onto Thompson, who stood grinning, unfazed by the spirits swirling around them. "Fate? What would you know about it?" Thompson spat. "Mia." Jamie pulled her beside him, desperate to shield her from the confrontation unfolding. Yet as he focused on her, he felt an overwhelming dread sinking into his bones. Just then, Mia's small voice broke through the din, fragile yet steady. "Daddy, promise me we'll get out, okay? Please." The innocence in her plea hit Jamie like a cold blast. It shattered the turmoil inside him. "I promise, Mia. I'll keep you safe." But the darkness surged forward again, and in that instant, Jamie understood. The truth was not merely about escaping, it was about confronting his own past. The failures, the shadows haunting him, they all stemmed from decisions he never wanted to face. As he grappled with this realization, the shadows pulsed angrily. Thompson licked his lips, savoring the turmoil. "Now, Jamie, are you ready to embrace what you've hidden?" An electric jolt raced through Jamie, igniting once more the flicker inside him. "No more running!" he shouted defiantly, stepping forward, ready to challenge the darkness lurking within himself and around Mia. But as he advanced, the darkness coiled tighter, squeezing them both. Would he drown in the weight of his past, or would they emerge transformed? Could he confront his own fears to save the innocent light beside him? The echoes of lost souls intertwined with the looming shadows as Jamie prepared for the ultimate confrontation, uncertainty thrumming deep in his chest. What awaited them on the other side of darkness? The darkness screamed, a cacophony of tormented souls and malevolent laughter. Jamie felt it wrapping around them, a suffocating shroud that threatened to extinguish all hope. The shadows seemed to pulsate with a life of their own, a twisted reminder of the fears buried deep inside him. He could almost taste the bitterness, a metallic tang filling his mouth. "Mia!" he gasped, pulling her close, feeling her small frame tremble against him. "Stay with me." Thompson's laughter rang out, piercing and mocking. "She's already lost, Jamie. You both are. Embrace what you are." He reached out, fingers curling like claws, eager to grasp at their very souls. The specter of past decisions loomed over Jamie. Distant faces flitted through his mind, friends he had lost, a family he had abandoned. Each memory cut deeper, twisting like daggers in his heart. They were his demons, and they danced in the shadows, hungry for acknowledgement, yet he had spent so long pushing them away. No. Jamie roared, as if challenging the shadows themselves. I won't let you win. He tightened his grip on Mia, feeling her warmth stabilize him, grounding him against the chaos unfolding. Do you remember the last time you chose to run? Thompson taunted, inching closer, the shadows whispering behind him, curling like smoke. That's what got you here. You think you can save her? You can't even save yourself. A low growl rose from the depths of the dark. Jamie's heart raced, each beat a drum echoing in his ears. He knew the truth, and it was terrifying. What if he was right? What if the darkness had already won? Mia squeezed his hand, her small fingers trembling but resolute. Daddy, it's okay. I believe in you. Her voice was a fragile thread stretched taut against the looming shadows. Believe in yourself. Jamie murmured back, his voice quaking. The flicker of hope ignited again, and rage coursed through him. He wouldn't allow Thompson or this darkness to take his daughter. Tell me. Another lost soul croaked from the shadows, its face twisted with despair. What can you still save? A damning truth resonated in Jamie's chest. He had choices, each echoing through the prison that held him. It wasn't just about Mia, it was about him. I can save us both. He shouted, determination filling him. But I have to face the past. He stepped forward, eyes fixed on the darkness swirling around Thompson. The shadows recoiled, screeching as if in terror. Jamie's voice rang out like thunder as it filled the air. I reject you. I choose love over fear, light over darkness. Thompson snarled, fury contorting his features. You fool. He spat, eyes blazing with malice. You will regret this. For an instant, the walls of the prison trembled as if the very foundation shook under the weight of Jamie's declaration. The shadows lunged at him, claws stretching and gaping mouths ready to consume him whole. Yet, as Jamie stood his ground, something unexpected happened. A blinding light surged from the depths of his soul, bright and pure, illuminating the darkness. Mia! Hold on! He shouted, pushing forward, forcing his heart to be the beacon against the shadows. But the light was met with seething darkness, struggling to maintain its dominion. The prison walls started to dissolve and twist, torn between the battle of light and shadow. If you want her, you'll have to face me. Thompson bellowed, his figure battling for dominance, darkness wrapping around him like a horrific cloak. With a final burst of will, Jamie reached out to Mia. We can break this. Together. The shadows screamed, a symphony of rage and despair, but he felt the surge of warmth radiating from Mia. Her belief in him was like an anchor, grounding him against the cold, but as the light began to swell, the darkness clawed back, spiraling into a frenzy, angered by this burst of hope. And in that chaos, a realization struck Jamie with lightning clarity. What if confronting his past meant accepting something darker? Something he had hidden even from himself. As he stood on the precipice, shadows and light clashing around him, he felt the walls tremble beneath his feet. This was just the beginning, a moment before everything would change. Would facing the darkness bring the truth to light, or plunge them deeper into despair? What cost would they have to pay to escape this cursed prison? The light pulsed through the darkness like a heartbeat, a defiance against the overwhelming black that seemed to whisper insidiously in Jamie's ears. For a moment, he felt stronger, more alive. But then the shadows surged forward, a tide of desperation and rage that wanted nothing more than to drown them. Mia, stay close. He shouted, pulling her tighter against him. The cold fingers of darkness brushed against his legs, and he felt the panic well up in his throat. What if this was a trap? What if the light was just a flicker before they were snuffed out? The ground beneath him quivered as Thompson's laughter echoed again, a sickening sound that coiled around Jamie's heart like a serpent. You're a coward, Jamie. Always running, always hiding. Face the truth, you'll never escape. His breath quickened. Each second stretched as the shadows loomed. "You don't own me," Jamie shouted, fighting against the encroachment. Every word felt like an act of rebellion against the master of the dark, yet he could feel the gnawing doubt scratching at the edges of his resolve. As he stood, the memories crashed over him like a wave, faces he had wronged, promises unfulfilled. Each one felt like a cold hand wrapped around his throat. Thompson was right about one thing: he had always been a runner, never facing the consequences of his choices. But this time, there was no escape. "Daddy!" Mia's voice pierced through the cacophony, a fragile light amidst the chaos. "Don't let him win." Her small frame shivered, and Jamie glanced down, meeting her wide, innocent eyes filled with fear yet glimmering with trust. The warmth radiating from her was like a fire against the freezing touch of the dark. "Okay, Mia. We can do this," he asserted, squeezing her hand to reassure them both. Thompson stepped forward, dark tendrils swirling around him, feeding off the fear exuding from Jamie. "Do you think love can save you? It's delusional. Face reality, Jamie. You are what you fear the most." Inside, Jamie felt the tremors of despair creep back in. What if Thompson's words held the truth? What if he was the monster? Shaking off the thought, he focused on Mia, the bright beacon guiding him through the haze. "Let us dig up those demons," he murmured, half to himself, half to Mia. "We need to face them together." The shadows recoiled at his words, hissing in an otherworldly chorus of disapproval. The ground below turned into a swirling mass, with endless memories manifesting among the swirling darkness, each carrying its own torment. Jamie's knees trembled. This was more than just his past, it was everything he tried to bury beneath the surface. As he stepped further into the shadows, the darkness began to shift. Figures rose alongside him, haunting reminders of past mistakes, old friends, long-lost family, even the glimmers of moments he shattered. They all crowded around him, their faces twisted with rage and betrayal. "Why didn't you save us?" one wretched voice asked, its tone dripping with accusations, eyes glimmering with pain. Each word stabbed at Jamie, taking him deeper into the abyss. I he faltered, overwhelmed by the wave of guilt crashing over him. Was this the price for his buried sins? Would he have to bear their wounds in this nightmarish realm? A cold sweat broke out on his brow as anxiety clawed at his throat, making it hard to breathe. The dark was closing in again, and he felt himself begin to choke on the weight of their disappointment. "Mia, I love you," he shouted, forcing the words out, hoping the light within her would shine bright enough to banish the darkness surrounding them. "I need you." But Thompson's shadowy figure edged closer, a sinister grin spreading across his twisted face. "Love won't save you. Not here. Not ever." Just then, Jamie heard an unexpected sound amid the chaos, a low, rumbling growl emerging from the shadows. It was no longer just Thompson's laughter they had to contend with. Something else lurked, its presence unmistakable, hungry, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. "Ready or not, Jamie, the darkness wants its due," Thompson hissed, and suddenly a chilling wind gusted through, rattling the very bones of the night. What was that growl? How would they confront this new horror? The darkness clawed closer, and Jamie's heart raced. Was there any way out, or had he let his past doom them both? The growl grew louder, wrapping around Jamie like a thick fog, suffocating and unyielding. He felt Mia tense beside him, her small body shaking against his side. Jamie's palms were clammy, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to think. They had to move. But the shadows shimmered, encasing him in a prison of regret and despair. "Mia." He tried to sound brave, but his voice wavered. "We need to go. Now." With that shout, he yanked her hand and they stumbled backward. The growl intensified, a sinister growl that seemed to encircle them, rising and falling like a predator toying with its prey. "Face it. You can't run forever." Thompson sneered, stepping closer as if feeding off their fear. Jamie could see the shadows behind him swirling, bursting with terrible shapes and forms. Incorporeal arms stretched out towards them, grasping at the air as if they wanted nothing more than to drag him deep into the abyss. In that split second, something blacker than the night, something enormous and hulking emerged from the dark swirling mass. Jamie's stomach dropped as he realized it was not just a figment of his tortured mind. "Mia, hold on to me!" he screamed, yanking her closer until their bodies were trembling against one another. The creature was massive, its body made of shadow and instinct. It loomed ominously, eyes gleaming like coals in the dark. With each beat of Jamie's heart, he felt its terrible breath wash over him, putrid and ancient. "Do you see, Jamie?" Thompson's voice echoed like a bell tolling doom. "This is what you were afraid of all along. Your past isn't just memories, it's this." The beast roared, a sound that shook the very ground they stood on. Jamie dropped to his knees, the weight of despair pulling him down as the memories succumbed to the monstrous nightmare. Those he hadn't saved screamed for justice, their eyes wide with grief and hatred. He could feel their disdain like a fiery brand searing into his chest. "Why didn't you protect me, Daddy?" Mia's soft voice trembled, piercing through the chaos. It was then that Jamie saw the flicker of light in her fear-filled eyes. "No. I can't lose you too." He gripped her tighter, his voice rising over the growl and Thompson's taunts. "You're not alone, Mia. You're not alone. We'll face them together." For a moment, a thin line of hope wormed its way through the crushing despair. In that hope, he could almost feel the shadows falter as he fueled it with his resolve. Every ounce of pain, every shameful memory boiled within him, transforming into strength. But then, the air chilled. The growl morphed into a hiss, a promise that sank deep into his bones. Something about it unnerved him, whispered of cruelty yet unseen. "Mia." Jamie's heart raced. "Stay behind me, I'll protect you no matter what." He thought of the dark being, of what it wanted, a reckoning, a final embodiment of all his failures. "Don't give in," Mia whispered, her voice barely audible above the noise, but there was something bright between them, illuminating the dark. With an animalistic roar, the creature lunged forward, teeth snapping just inches from them. Jamie dove, his body instinctively shielding Mia, but he felt the growl vibrating beneath him, the earth itself protesting against his stand. Then, in the blink of an eye, he saw Thompson's eyes widen as he was taken prisoner by the shadows behind him. "This isn't over, Jamie." Thompson wailed as if he sought to escape but was dragged down unseen in eternal damnation that was as much a prison as it was a punishment. Jamie lifted his head. The air felt electric, thick with tension. The shadows stilled, their grasp relaxed but not gone. "What do you want from us?" he yelled, his voice echoing through the eerie silence now punctuated by ragged breaths. As if in response, the darkness pulsed once again, like a heartbeat drumming in cadence with Jamie's own. Something shifted. The shadows wanted something, something he had buried deep, hidden even from himself. Mia squeezed his hand tighter, her trust shining like a star amidst this void. But where would the light lead? Would they emerge strengthened or just fall deeper? The growl returned, louder, more demanding. Jamie stared into the dark, the uncertainty clawing at his chest. What more horrors remained? What else had he hidden, and what would it cost to face them now? "Are you ready for the truth?" The shadows whispered, a sinister pulse that rippled through him. He was not just standing against shadows. He was staring down the very essence of his own terror, and the final reveal was just beginning. The darkness heaved around them, an infectious chill seeping into Jamie's bones. He could scarcely breathe, the weight of his past pressing down harder than any physical force could. Mia's grip steadied him, her small hand a beacon amidst the turmoil. He tried to focus, to gather his thoughts above the cacophony of his fears. But the whispers grew louder, gnawing at the frayed edges of his sanity. "Face the truth, Jamie. You can't hide." The shadows crooned. It was a chorus, shifting and swirling like a storm, each voice accusatory, biting. "I'm not hiding." He shot back, though doubt clawed at him. The darkness breathed heavily, brushing against him like cold fingers. "We've dealt with this already. We can move on." But the growling laughter returned, echoing off the prison of despair that surrounded them. "Such naive hope," it taunted. "What have you truly faced? What has ever left your mind, unscathed?" With a surge of anger, Jamie took a step forward. Anger and fear waged a vicious battle within him, but he had to shield Mia. "Enough. I refuse to be a prisoner of my past." In that instant, he lunged toward the thing lurking just beyond the veil of shadows. He had to confront it. He mustered every ounce of willpower, the heat of anger burning through his veins. The creature surged back, as if shocked by Jamie's defiance, but the growl morphed into a cacophony of voices, their tones begging him to listen. "Remember the boy on the rooftop?" One screamed. Jamie's heart clenched, images flooding back. He shook his head, but the memories wouldn't fade. "No. I didn't. I couldn't." The guilt was suffocating. "Why did you let it happen?" Another voice hissed, sharper than daggers. "You stood there, frozen. While he fell." "Mia." Jamie turned to her, panic spilling into his voice. "You can't listen to them. They're lying." But he could see it in her eyes, the flicker of doubt growing at his denials. "No, Daddy, they're right. You never saved him." She shrank back, clearly frightened, but his world was spinning too fast. "Enough with the games." He shouted, his voice raw, filled with desperation. "What do you want from me? I can't change the past." The shadows surged closer, looming over them like a tsunami, and Jamie felt the ground tremble beneath him. The memories clawed their way up his throat. Regret wasn't just a whisper anymore. It was living agony, twisting his insides. "Give us your truth." The monster roared, the walls shaking under its ferocity. "Reveal your failures, and we shall let you go." Jamie grappled with the onslaught of emotions, flashes of his past pressing on him, unveiling events he thought buried in the depths of his mind. The day he had let fear seize him when it mattered most. The choices made in haste that left countless lives forever altered. Each moment stung, each one a weight added to the crippling bat of sorrow. "Mia, stay close," he urged, feeling the push of despair teasing at the edges of his thoughts, threatening to pull him under. "Don't listen to them." But she looked at him, eyes wide and glistening. "Daddy, I need to know. Why didn't you save him? Why?" The creature thudded forward, shadowy hunger radiating from its being. Jamie's heart pounded, each beat a ghostly echo of the life he couldn't reach back and change. The growl morphed into an all-encompassing roar, drowning out reason. With every ounce of strength left in him, Jamie stood firm. "You want my truth? Here it is. I failed. But I refuse to fail again." Then, as if released from a spell, the shadows recoiled, their grasp faltering, and for a fleeting moment, it felt as though the air had shifted. Hope blossomed again, raw and fresh against the suffocating barrage of darkness. Hand in hand, they faced the specter before them, the beast wavering as Jamie steeled himself. "Tell me, Jamie," the shadow whispered chillingly. "What horrors will you unleash to save your daughter?" In that instant, with the weight of the past threatening to crush him and the future hanging precariously by a thread, Jamie realized he could lose everything in this battle. The deepest questions remained unanswered, and the shadows longed for more than just truth. What monster would he become to protect Mia, and would they both be left standing when the chaos settled? The growl deepened into a chilling crescendo, drowning out all thoughts of escape. With a fleeting heart, Jamie braced himself, knowing that the true battle had just begun. The shadows twisted, swallowing the remnants of light around them, making the air thick with dread. Jamie felt his heart hammer in his chest, a primal rhythm battling against the chaos. The surrounding whispers thickened, wrapping around his ears like chains. They were suffocating, relentless. "Mia, hold on tightly," he whispered, trying to steady his trembling hands, even as uncertainty flickered in his mind like a dying flame. He could feel the pressure of the past pushing against him, demanding attention, demanding confrontation. "We're going to face this together. Daddy," her voice was barely a whisper, quivering with fear. "What if we can't? What if we're not strong enough?" The creature lurked closer, the shadows weaving into grotesque shapes that morphed and undulated like the tortured souls they represented. Its presence was an abyss, threatening to suck them into a chasm of despair. Jamie swallowed hard, anger igniting within him again. "No. We are going to win." The shadow darted forward, its cold breath wrapping around them like a vice. "You don't understand, Jamie. It's not about winning or losing. It's about the truth you refuse to face. The choices that haunt you." Suddenly, images flashed in Jamie's mind, a flicker of a life lost, a desperate scream that had echoed through his thoughts for years. The boy on the rooftop. Jamie had been there. He had been powerless, petrified, watching as that boy slipped away. "Stop!" he yelled, as if that could erase the memories clawing at his sanity. "I can't go back. I couldn't save him." "Release it," the monster hissed. "Let the burden fall. Only then can you truly free her." Mia's grip tightened, her tiny fingers pressing against his palm. He looked down, met her eyes wide and hopeful. She was fighting her own battles, but his past threatened to overshadow her innocence. "Daddy, tell me how to help," she cried out, voice trembling. "No," he shot back, panic overtaking him. "You stay by me, no matter what. We can't let it take you." The shadow's laughter echoed, a cruel melody in the suffocating darkness. "Protect her? Or will you allow your regrets to consume her too?" Jamie's mind raced. He had to act, had to turn the tide before the darkness closed in for good. "If it's my truth you want, then I'll give it to you. But not without a fight." With a burst of energy, Jamie lunged forward, forcing the darkness back with his determination. He would not let the past control him. The shadows writhed under the pressure of his defiance, shrieking in rage. "Face your real fears, Jamie. What are you willing to sacrifice?" The creature's voice grew deeper, more resonant, wrapping around his thoughts. "Will you risk everything, to save her?" Sweat dripped down Jamie's brow. His breath came in ragged gasps. He was on the edge, teetering between the light of hope and the chasm of despair. "I'll give anything," he shouted, his voice rising above the howls of the darkness. "But I want to lose my daughter to you." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest. Jamie felt an opening, a sliver of light breaking through. But there was a price for freeing himself. He could either unleash the horrors within him or risk losing the only thing that mattered. Mia trembled beside him, her trust in him a fragile lifeline. "Please, Daddy, I believe in you." The growl morphed back into a chilling whisper. "You believe you can defeat me, but trust is a cruel illusion." As the shadows thickened again, closing off their escape, Jamie realized that the true horror wasn't just his past. It was the truth he would have to confront, not only about himself but about what he was willing to become. Cracks of light began to shimmer against the encroaching dark. Jamie felt it deep within his chest, a wild, raw energy rising. Would he sacrifice everything, including his very soul, to embrace his truth? The decision loomed, heavy and terrifying, as one last growl shuddered through the room. "Will you take the step, Jamie, toward the monster you could become?" In that moment, as the shadows surged once more, Jamie's heart raced. What? Would he unleash an unquenchable beast to protect his daughter, or remain a man shackled by regret? The chaos echoed around them, and for each second that passed, the threat loomed larger. He could feel the darkness shifting, waiting. What will it be? The voice mocked, and as Jamie stood, heart pounding, he knew this was just the beginning of a fierce reckoning. Would the monster set them free, or would it consume them both? Jamie clutched Mia tightly, the grip of her tiny fingers grounding him. The suffocating shadows pressed against them, whispering secrets only they could hear. He could taste the raw panic in the air, but beneath that urgency, a flame flickered. They had faced the darkness together before, now, they would face the truth. "I will not let you take my daughter," he screamed defiantly at the swirling mass of shadows. The yowling cries echoed, a monstrous response rippling through the dark. Every memory, every fear clamored for recognition. But Jamie didn't back down this time. He could feel the warmth radiating from Mia against the cold darkness, and it ignited something fierce within him. "Mia," he whispered, bending down to meet her gaze, "we can break this. We can take back what has been stolen." Her wide eyes sparkled with the innocence he longed to protect. "You promise?" she tremblingly asked, uncertainty etching her brow. "I promise," Jamie vowed, feeling steel replace his doubt. "We'll fight together." And in that moment, something shifted. The shadows recoiled as if repelled by their bond. It wasn't just a promise, it was a declaration. They were not merely running from the dark, they would confront it head-on. With a fierce roar, Jamie surged forward, forcing the shadows to the back, propelled by the weight of his resolve. "I faced fear before," he shouted, "and I won't let it control me again." The shadows hissed, a guttural response vibrating through the air. In a swirling tide, more memories surfaced, each representing the breakdown of his resolve, moments when indecision crippled him. Jamie felt their weight, but unlike before, he let them wash over him, absorbing the pain rather than resisting. "I couldn't save them," he yelled, "but I will save one soul. Mia, hold on," he cried, as the shadows lunged, hungry for the light of hope. He surged to the forefront, determination coursing through him. The darkness twisted and turned, but Jamie, with Mia in his hold, was unyielding. He felt the flickering light of his own truth pulse with every heartbeat. Each thud was a reminder of the love he had to fight for. With an instinctive move, he faced the looming beast, feeling the deep growl resonate from it. "You feed on my regret, you think that's my end?" Jamie declared, a newfound fire igniting behind his hazel eyes. The shadows howled, anguished screams ringing in his ears. "Here is my truth. I have failed, but I have not given up." As the shadows surged, Jamie twisted, channeling each regret into determination. The past wasn't a prison, it was fuel. "Your power wanes in the light of love," he exclaimed and, with a final push, unleashed the energy within him toward the looming darkness. Waves of light surged forth, clashing with the oppressive blackness as the two forces met and erupted in a brilliant explosion. Mia shielded her eyes, but when she peered through her fingers, enraptured by the brilliant light, she saw something glorious. "Daddy, look!" she gasped, pointing toward the retreating figures of sorrow and despair. For the first time, Jamie felt the oppressive darkness begin to retreat. Faces he recognized surfaced, not with anger now but a glimmer of peace. The lost souls emerged from the shadows, the shackles that bound them dissolving before his eyes. Each face reflected forgiveness, liberation. "Thank you, Jamie," they echoed, their voices mingling in the light. Thompson raised his hands in defiance, but the shadows that once obeyed him began to dissipate. "This isn't over," he shouted, but the connection he had with the darkness shattered, tearing away pressure on Jamie and Mia. "Finish it, Jamie," said a voice, one of the lost souls, rising far above the rest in a chorus of liberty, and Jamie knew the moment had come. He stepped forward again, light pouring from him, fueled by love, intent on ending this nightmare once and for all. "This is where the cycle breaks," he proclaimed. "You will not haunt us again." With a final, glorious burst, the shadows exploded like shattering glass, the sound ringing through the air with electric force. The last remnants of Thompson were swallowed by the void, his angry screams dissolving into silence. Breaths came quicker as Jamie finally blinked away the brightness. He looked down at Mia, whose eyes sparkled with relief. The trust he had fought for glimmering brighter than ever. "We did it!" she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him tightly. "Yes, we did," he replied, holding her close, feeling the warmth of her spirit permeating through him like sunlight breaking through clouds. As dawn broke behind them, Jamie stepped out of the looming prison that had shackled not only himself, but countless lives. They stood hand in hand, not just father and daughter, but spirit and strength intertwined. Together, they had faced the dark and emerged into the light, and as they walked away, a new day dawning, Jamie realized the journey ahead wouldn't be simple, but the shadows no longer weighed on him. He was ready to meet the future, armed with the truth of his love. "Next time, let us take the long way," Mia chirped, her voice dancing in amused innocence. Jamie chuckled warmly, his heart lighter. "You got it, kiddo." Together. The prison of darkness was behind them. The shadows may have tried to claim them, but love had become their most potent weapon. They were free never to return. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any future exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find this epic journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending because I want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.